You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and a trunk, just like Jim. It's more to life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more to life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club, light some bottles, impress them girls. It's more to life.
Fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And I am Ethan and Poodat, and I guess everybody, and by now I guess everyone is had time to process the Saints' loss to the Green Bay Packers, 20-10, and this is my post-game reaction show to that. And with that, let me get a menu and let's get right into that right now. And my interesting first stat that I want to get into that, and it's a pretty interesting one that maybe some people may have missed or that I haven't heard yet, and it's the 59-59, and that set up the Saints' first points of the game, and that's the Kurt Merritt 59-yard kickoff return that he had that led to the 59-yard field goal that Will Lutz had. And when that first happened, I didn't even realize that they were both 59 and 59 yards. So that's a pretty cool stat that those were both 59 yards, that they both set each other up. And that was really cool. That was really good to see Kurt Merritt do something like that. That probably really helps Kurt Merritt possibly get a roster spot, because I think if he doesn't make the team, I'd be very surprised if he makes the Saints practice squad. He probably makes someone else's team after having a 59-yard kickoff return like that, or a big play like that in general. And even more than that, it was great to see Will Lutz make a big kick field goal like that. Just that's impressive. If anything, that has to tell you that Will Lutz is healthy. If he's making big kicks like that, then he's healthy. Having Will Lutz back healthy after all the kicking problems that the Saints had last year is it's such a relief, and you know that has to feel good for him to be able to successfully kick a kick like that. And that kick had even room to go. It probably could have made it from 63, 64. That would have been nice if that would have been during the regular season, because I think his career long is like a 58-yard field goal. So of course, with it being just regular season, no one's going to remember it after the preseason, after tonight, unless you're a Saints fan. No one's even going to remember that he even kicked that 59-yarder in the preseason. So it's kind of disappointing, but still, it was good to see him make that. So that, as you could say, special teams, that was something special to see, and it feels good. It's a comforting feeling knowing that you have a good kicker, and even now, when after a touchdown, still have a little bit of PTSD of when after scoring touchdowns, of if the kicker is gonna make the extra points. But now having Will Lutz back, you don't have to worry about that anymore. It's a time to go to the kitchen to get a a drink or a snack now because you know for sure he's going to make it. And that's a good feeling to have now. And you just know if you would have had Will Lutz last year, someone that can consistently kick anything that's under 50 yards and make it, that man, we would have had an extra win or two because of him, and definitely would have made the playoffs. But it was definitely impressive and nice to see that. And also to go along with that, that was some impressive coaching and some veteran coaching, and maybe something that Dennis Allen may have picked up from from Sean Payton while he was understudy, or just his time from being under Sean Payton, that he took the timeout right before, I guess there was about 2 seconds left. He took a timeout before the end of the first quarter, so Will Lutz had the wind at his back to help with that, with the long field goal. And that's maybe some maturation that Dennis Allen has had since his time as the Raiders head coach, and that was some savviness there that probably helped make that kick easier, and that's good to see. You know, that shows you that was very smart and a good move to probably definitely helped with that kick a lot. And also something else to mention with Kurt Merritt that I wasn't that aware of is I thought he was an undrafted free agent rookie, but he's actually been in the league since 2020. I guess he's out of Arkansas State, but he's actually been with the Miami Dolphins, and he's been in the league since 2020. But so he's been around a little bit, but so that was so when after Will Lutz made that kick, it was 3-3, and Ian Book looked okay up until that point, and then he started to struggle a little bit, and some of his problems that we saw in the Miami game and then last week's game started to rear their ugly head again. And then, something that he needs to get figured out. And I know they don't do it a lot in college, but they do it a lot in the NFL. Fumble the snap from under center. I mean, come on, that's two weeks in a row that he's fumbled a center exchange from under center. I mean, I get it. I understand that that it was a COVID year last year, so you didn't have a normal year off season last year to practice that a lot, but you had a whole off season this year to practice that, and I guess you're working with different centers and not starting centers. But I mean, I put that more on the quarterback than I do the center. And I mean, you almost feel a little bit bad, but not that much, that every time that's happened so far, like every time that's happened, like they just lose it. And that time they fumbled it, and it wasn't even close. It like fumbled it and it got kicked out way ahead, far ahead, like up the field, and got recovered and got returned a long way. That just seems like some bad luck. Like Ian Book, he played for the Irish, but he has no luck since he's become a Saint. And like that's something, if he can't take a snap from under center, then he can't be an NFL quarterback. And it's starting to be pretty clear that may be his problem, that he's not going to be an NFL quarterback, and it definitely is starting to look very clear that he's not going to be a starter. At least he may at some point be a backup. It looks like his only career path is maybe a backup, but it doesn't look like he's going to be a starter anywhere or anytime soon, at least. And with talking about his bad luck continued, but it wasn't necessarily all his fault. And this was with Taysom Hill slipping. He slipped which led to an interception. And there was a lot of slipping and sliding out there in Green Bay, and this was before it even started raining, and this was kind of late in the second half. It started raining, and this kind of leads back to when Sean Payton was the head coach. I want to ask, like, what kind of cleats these players had on? Did they just have like the molded cleats on? They didn't have the screw-in cleats on, because this was like on a out route or comeback route, and man, Taysom Hill just fell flat on his face, and this led to an easy interception for the defender. And man, that was just once again just some bad luck for Ian Book. But you know, on the stat sheet, it's just going to be an interception, and but and that led to, pretty sure that ended up leading to some points for Green Bay, and so and then finally the Saints ended up getting some of their luck, which was a fumble of their own. Was Eric Wilson, and Eric Wilson he forced a fumble which PJ Williams recovered, and this is something I always get tired of listening to when it's a home team color commentator. And this was John Kuhn, which I think he must forgot that he actually played for the Saints, because man, he was super biased when it came to any kind of Green Bay Packer penalty or the fumble or a drop pass later in the game that Dennis Allen challenged. Like he was like, oh, he dropped it when he went to the ground, but oh, he caught it, or oh, that wasn't a penalty, or I guess it was a fumble. Man, it's after a while, and it gets hard to listen to those home team bias commentators. I guess that's their job. They're supposed to be biased to their home team, the home team. But man, after a while, you just want to slap them upside the head. Just tell them to shut up, man, because man, they're hard to listen to after a while. I think old John Kuhn, he was worse than the Texans commentators last week. And like I said, he played for the Saints for one season. I remember when they used to go Kuhn in the Superdome anytime he'd get the ball. And yeah, but that fumble that Eric Wilson and forced, and then PJ Williams recovered, ended up leading to probably the one of, or maybe the most exciting play of the game, or at least the one that got me the most excited and jacked up, was the play that kind of ended the first half, and that was the 20-yard touchdown reception by Chris Olave, and that just had me jacked up, super hyped, and still kind of am, and pretty much as far as I'm concerned, really the play that really only mattered, really the play of the game, really the thing that only mattered, best play of the game, and that came on a great play. And you got to give Ian Book some credit too, even though you're probably not feeling that great about him, and a lot of people are giving some Ian Book some hate, but you got to give Ian Book some credit for making a great play too, because he rolled out to his right on the play and made a great throw as well. And Ian Book, or not Ian, Chris Olave made a great catch and dove into the end zone, did a flurry leap into the end zone, and scored a 20-yard touchdown. And that play just had me jacked up. I mean, it really shows what kind of player Chris Olave is going to be. Hopefully we see a bunch of those. Hopefully we see like 10 double digits of those this season coming up. And that just had me jacked up. I was pumped up after seeing that, and that really made. I know it's a preseason game, but that made the score 10-13 and you're thinking, oh, maybe this is going to be a competitive preseason game coming down to the wire. Because even last week, that Houston Texans game was competitive, coming down all down to the wire. I mean, it did come down to the wire. It came down to a last second touchdown by the Houston Texans. But this game wasn't quite as competitive in the second half. And then uh, and then in the second half, it was more, the only real excitement in the second half was I guess, special teams was being special, and that was a Blake Gilligan 82-yard punt. And I mean, that was wild. He had an 82-yard punt, and it would have been even crazier if it had stayed in bounds, but it went into the end zone, which I guess that cuts off about 20 yards, so it makes it a 62-yard net, or whatever, however they calculate that. And I think he even had like a 62-yarder, another 60-something yard one, and 60-something yard punt later in the game. So he had some big booming cannon leg punts throughout the game, and just special teams was being special throughout the game, with the Kirk Merritt kickoff return, the 59-yard field goal, and the Blake Gilligan punts. But throughout later in the half, there were some overthrows by Ian Book. Kirk Merritt came up again a couple times. There was an overthrow to Kirk Merritt, and then I think before that there was a drop by Kirk Merritt, and then there was a overthrow to him as well. So there was a couple plays where Ian Book almost hit him, but it was dropped, and then there was an overthrow where maybe if he'd have just ran underneath it instead of diving for it, he may have caught it. But there wasn't, just like I said, the second half wasn't too exciting, but it was just the turnovers. But in addition to the turnovers, there was a lot of penalties in this game, like illegal contact that kept drives alive, and probably the worst one was roughing the passer by let's see, Malcolm Roach had a terrible roughing the passer on Jordan Love, which would have had the Packers backed up inside their own 5-yard line, and that roughing the passer ended up leading to first down, which ended up leading to a Green Bay Packers touchdown. Like, those are some of the worst penalties you can get, are penalties like that. Or so they had a couple, at least, it seemed like at least 2 illegal contact plays, like on third down, that gave the Green Bay Packers first down. Those are like some of the worst penalties you can get, is when you think you have your opponent off the field on offense, and then you give them a first down. Those are just, you want to just pull your hair out on plays like that. And it seemed like most of the plays that, just like in the Houston Texan game, the majority of the Packers' points came off of penalties and touchdowns and turnovers. The only one that didn't was the Danny Etling 50-plus yard rushing touchdown, when the Saints mostly had third and fourth stringers in. And that's an interesting thing. That seemed like that's kind of when, after that happened, that seemed kind of like when Ian Book kind of started picking up his game. He started to scrambling around and moving around a little bit more. Is when he saw that, he started thinking, oh, well, I guess I can use my wills and my legs a little bit more. But that's kind of how the Houston game was, is he started to be able to pick apart the Green Bay Packers third four stringers, just like in the Houston game. He seemed to be able to move the ball a little bit easier against the third and fourth stringers of the Green Bay Packers, which that only makes sense, you know. They're not quite as talented, but some interesting, some of the better performers in this game were Divine Zigbo. He had a pretty good game. He had 7 carries for 40 yards for 5.7 yards a carry. Tony Jones Jr. He had a really good game. He only had 4 carries, but 19 yards. But for 4.8 yards a carry. But he had a really big. He had probably one of the biggest plays of the game. It was a big screen for 20 yards. That was a Cesar Ruiz is probably catching some flack on a highlight of that play where he got pushed into him on that play when he was picking up some big yardage on that play and got like blocked into him. But that was an impressive play. Tony Jones Jr. had 3 catches for 20 yards for 6.7 yards average. Kevin White actually had an impressive 1-yard catch for 18 yards. Kevin White, he is a really physically impressive player. If he could just learn how to catch the ball consistently and stay healthy. Like when he catches the ball, he has an impressive burst and explosiveness. You can see why he was picked as high as he was in the draft, but he just doesn't have great ball skills, I guess. And of course, Chris Olave had the 2 catches for 28 yards. Most of it was off the 20 yards and the touchdown. And then on defense, the newly added John Bostic, which we've been talking a lot about, just the linebacker depth. He had 6 total tackles, 5 solo, and 1 pass deflection. Actually looked decent in pass coverage. And then Taco Charlton actually played pretty good. Had 4 tackles, 4 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and a quarterback hit. And so, yeah, pretty some good. Some players actually made a name for themselves. They put a spotlight on themselves to try to make this team last night. So it wasn't a great game to watch, but there was definitely some players that were individuals to watch. But I think with that, I think that's all I have for you. And with that, can I get a check, please?